In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the appearance panel and graphic styles to create reusable custom text in Adobe Illustrator. Let's go. All right, so here in Adobe Illustrator, I've typed out a single word. We're using the word sling here, and the typeface that I'm using is called black. This is a nice looking scripty font, and it has a few alternate characters, which is pretty cool. It allows you to sort of change some of the letters here. So let's pick out a different style or appearance for the G. I think this one looks pretty good. And now what we're going to do is create a non-destructive reusable text effect. So I really love using the appearance panel in Adobe Illustrator because it does give you a lot of options when it comes to customizing the appearance of your type. If you don't see the appearance panel, you can find it here under the window menu by going to appearance. So make sure you have that open and then select your text, come over here to the bottom of the panel, and we're going to begin by adding a new fill color. So I'll click on this swatch here, and let's just start with a light gray. And what's nice about the appearance panel also is that you can stack up as many fill colors, strokes, or gradients as you want to. Let's go ahead and add a stroke on top of that fill color. And then I'll increase the weight of this to something pretty thick, maybe like 20. And as you can see, it's doing something weird here where the letters are overlapping because they're individual characters and not one merged shape. But we can fix that pretty easily just by clicking and dragging this stroke underneath the fill. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can actually increase this a little bit more, something like 40, so we get a nice bold outline. Now select the text again. We're going to add another fill on top of our first fill, just by clicking down here. And this time, let's change the color to white. And I want to create sort of a highlight effect. So what I can do is click on this effects icon, go to path, offset path, and I'll enter a value of maybe like -14 so that I can still see the light gray color around the outside. Click OK to apply the changes. And now I'll select that first gray fill color and click and drag it down here to the plus icon to duplicate it and move it on top of the white fill. Once again, come down here and select FX, path, offset path, and we'll need to do a value of maybe about -20, or we can even go a little bit more here. Let's say like -28. This is really going to determine the thickness of that outline that we see here, that white outline. So let's click OK for now. Select the top fill color again, return to this FX icon, and this time choose Distort and Transform, Transform. And now you should see this transform effect panel open here. And what's cool about this is we can offset this text now. So let's enter a value here of maybe 5 and 5. And you can see what's happening. It's starting to move over to the side and down a little bit, but we need to push this a little bit more just to cover up some of those thinner edges here. So let's try 12 maybe. And what's cool about this is if I want to change the color or the appearance of this at any time, all I have to do is come in here, select offset path or select the color, whatever you want to change basically, and you can just modify those values. For example, if instead of having a white highlight here, I wanted to have more of a shadow, I could just change that to a color that's darker than my fill color. And you can also change the fill color on top by selecting it. Maybe change it to a shade of blue here. And then you would just want to do the same thing for the fill color that's underneath the highlight. So you get something like this. And now let's go ahead and add another fill. I'll click down here to add new fill. Click and drag to bring this all the way to the bottom below the stroke. And what I'd like to do now is click on FX, go to path, offset path, and we need to enter a higher value so that we can see it behind our black outline. So let's try and enter a value of like 30, or we can even go a little bit bigger here. Let's try 48, something like that, right? Why not go bold here? And then what we can do is click on that FX icon once again, go to Distort and Transform, and then Transform. And this time we're going to enter a value of 1 for the horizontal and 1 for vertical in this move section here. And then we'll come down here to where it says copies. Now this is where things get interesting because we can enter a value here of, let's try like 40. And we can start to see this sort of extrusion happening, right? Where it's almost like a drop shadow or an extrusion. And it looks pretty cool. So we have a lot of control over the distance or the length of that extrusion. And if I change this from a 1 to, let's say like -1, it's going to change the direction that my text is being extruded in. Same thing for the vertical value here. If I change that to -1, you can see it now looks like the shadow or the extrusion is going up and to the left. So you don't have to use a crazy high value here. Just entering something like 1 or -1 will do the trick. And then once you're happy with how things are looking, you can go ahead and click OK to apply those changes. And let's duplicate this one more time. I'll click and drag this bottom fill down here to the plus icon, move it down here to the bottom. And then let's change the color to maybe like a darker gray. Expand it by clicking on this little arrow here. Go to transform. And this time, let's maybe increase this from 60 to like 90 copies, or we can even go higher to 120. And now we have an extrusion and we have a nice little shadow happening. And of course, if we wanted to, we can click on opacity to lower the opacity of this effect. You also have the ability to play with blending modes, which is really fun. And you can do some other cool things. But before I do that, I just want to adjust this a little bit because I want the highlight to be coming from the other direction. So I'll select my top fill here, go to transform. And if I want the highlight to be coming from the other direction, I can just change this to -12, -12. And there we go. Click OK to apply the changes. And let's take a look here. If I zoom out for a second, I'm just going to add a background to my text, remove the stroke, send it to the back by pressing Command, Control, Shift, and the left bracket, and then double click on the fill color here. And let's change it to like a nice contrasty red color. And now if I select my type, I can go down here to the fill, the gray fill on the bottom, expand it by clicking on that arrow, choose opacity, and let's change the blending mode to multiply. And now you can see that you get a nice looking shadow effect down here. So this is really cool because it just gives us so much control over how we want our text to look. And again, if I were to do this manually, I would normally have to outline the text, maybe use the blend tool in order to get this sort of extruded look. But by doing it this way, I'm just saving myself so much time. And I really have the ability to come in here and fine tune this as much or as little as I'd like. Let's say, for example, here, I want to remove some of the thickness around that blue outline. I'll just go to offset path and maybe change this to 28, or let's say like 32, just to give us a little more room there. And we have a pretty cool looking piece of text. Once again, I can also change the colors around here. Maybe the fill can be white. And maybe we want our highlight color to be cyan. All right, so you've got some nice options here for how you can customize this. Right, you can play around with the different colors. You can even, pick a very specific color if there's like a hex value that you want to use. Just have some fun with it. Like it's pretty fun to play around with this and dial in the settings as much or as little as you want. All right, so I'm actually going to go back here to what I had. I was kind of digging that before with like a light gray. I'll do the same thing here. Right, and now you have a pretty cool reusable text effect.
Hey Eric, what are you working on? Oh hey, I'm teaching people how to create some custom type in Adobe Illustrator. Oh wow, I've been trying to learn Illustrator for a while, just kind of scouring the internet for tutorials, but it's so overwhelming. I mean, there's a lot of free ones out there, but I just don't know where to start. I hear you. I felt the exact same way when I was starting out trying to improve my skills. Have you heard about the new Adobe Illustrator Beginner to Pro course on GoSkills? I haven't. What's that? I'm so glad you asked. Adobe Illustrator Beginner to Pro is exactly what it sounds like. By the end of the course, you will know exactly how to design unique logos, branding, and mockups for real-world projects, design eye-catching visuals and 3D elements, perfect selections, shapes, and drawing tools to help you bring your ideas to life, work with color palettes, patterns, and gradients, explore typography to elevate your designs, and learn all about the new 3D interface and tools. That sounds great. Who's the instructor? I am. I've been using Adobe Illustrator for 15 years, and I've created multiple courses and lessons on this very channel, but I've condensed all of my knowledge and experience using Illustrator into this course to help you go from a beginner to a pro. If you aren't already a GoSkills member, you can sign up now for your free 7-day trial and check out the Adobe Illustrator Beginner to Pro course. Wow, that sounds exactly like what I've been looking for. I'm gonna go sign up now and check out the course. But in the meantime, I'll let you get back to it.
So how do you actually reuse this? If you want to, what you would do is select your text and open the Graphic Styles panel, which you can also find under the Window menu. Open it here, and you can click and drag your type right into that panel, and it's going to save it. So now, if I just typed out a completely different word, scale up the text a little bit, maybe fine tune the kerning here, just the spacing in between the letters, tweak the shapes a little bit. And now click on that icon. It's going to automatically apply that exact same text effect. And I can go back in here into the appearance panel and change this up however I want. So let's say, for example, I like the effect, but maybe I want to change just the outline color. Well, that's really easy to do all using this appearance panel. So let's take a look at a few other examples here of how this might be useful. Here I have another example that I created. And what's cool about this one is that I also applied some warping to it. So if you want to, you can come up here, select the type itself, go to the effects icon. You can go to warp and apply an arc or arch or a rise, any of these really. I already have an instance of this applied, so I'm not going to apply a new one, but I can click on this instance to show you what I've done here, right? So I just applied a little bit of a bend with a vertical distortion to get that sort of looking up at the text perspective. And this is really nice because I can just come in here, I can change this to anything I want, just like the other example. And then we have a third example over here, just a nice gold, right? So I can change this. Now I can go into the appearance panel, play around with these as much or as little as I like. And when I'm happy with all of these, I can even select each one. Or let's say, for example, I want to grab all 4 of these, and I can come up here to the hamburger menu and choose Save Graphic Style Library. I can now save this to my desktop. And now if I go and create a new document here, you can see in my graphic styles, I don't have any of the ones I just created. So I'll go to the hamburger menu again, choose Open Graphic Style Library, Other Library, navigate to my desktop or wherever you have these saved. And then I'll click on the Custom Styles AI file, choose Open. And here you can see we have all of those graphic styles. So once again, this is a really fun and unique way to create custom text effects inside of Adobe Illustrator. I encourage you to try this out for yourself, have some fun creating these effects, and save your own presets because it is a huge time saver.
I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're interested in checking out my all-new Adobe Illustrator Beginner to Pro course, where you can learn about this and so much more, then check out the link in the description below, where you can get started now with your free 7-day trial of GoSkills. All right, creative. Thanks so much for watching. Keep designing, and we'll see you in the next one.